and welcome to Old vs. Gold, the podcast that takes your fond childhood memories of movies and TV and holds them up to the harsh light of today. This week's movie, Star Wars.
So, what is everybody's favorite Star Wars character?
Originally, it was Luke. When I was a kid.
Originally?
Yeah. When I was too young to know any better. Adolescence. I don't know. Now, with my critical awareness of the movie, it's like, oh, they're barely characters. But, so I don't know. Let me think about that while someone else answers.
Oh.
I think it's a toss-up between R2-D2 and C-3PO for me.
Oh, that's a good point.
You know, there's like no chance of like bad line delivery from this guy. You know, like, you know, it's cute. But I also like, you know, like as I got older, I think I used to think that C-3PO was way too whiny, and I realized I'm like, this really works. He's like insufferable, but it's like it really works. Like and I think it's really funny. Like I think after a while I'm like, this is so hilarious, especially the part where like they're in the desert and he starts blaming it on R2-D2. Like, wow, this is like a Ricky Gervais skit.
Oh,
so like somewhere between those two, I like those two.
And I mean, R2 with me. R2. I always liked R2 anyway, so that makes sense. Okay.
So it's curious why we're bringing up Star Wars in this. This film. Is it? It's never surprising that this topic rounds about to this week's movie.
Oh,
which is Star Wars. The very first Star Wars.
You mean Star Wars?
I mean Star Wars.
Yes.
You mean A New Hope, right?
No.
There are those who refer to it as A New Hope, but
we call them bad people.
Look.
Yes, on Blu-ray. Look. That one. We're watching that one first.
Except it doesn't have that 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Star Wars IV.
We're having Star Wars administered by IV into our arms.
So not only, because this is a special season finale 2-part episode, not only are we doing Star Wars this episode, but next episode will be The Empire Strikes Back. And then after that, we will decide which film is better, Star Wars or Empire. So this first one will be just Star Wars, and we will vote Old v Gold.
Yep. And
then move on. But hey, let's go with introductions. I'm Robert.
Okay.
This is Tim.
I'm Tim.
I'm HP.
I'm Mark.
Okay, well, let's go around the table and discuss what we remember of Star Wars when we first saw it. I bet it's all roughly similar.
Probably. Except some of us are older
you were a
than
kid
others.
And maybe a parent or guardian took you to the theater. You saw it. It was amazing and blew your mind. And then the world changed forever.
Sort of.
Okay, well, why don't you tell us?
I knew about this. You know, I was ready for this before it came out, I guess from Starlog or something. I don't know why I was so informed about it pre-internet before it came out.
Back then?
Oh, yeah.
Wow, it goes way back.
Oh, yeah. I was living in Paducah, Kentucky. And it did not get there immediately because it's Paducah, Kentucky. But it got to Murray first, where the college was.
By stagecoach.
Exactly. And so my older brother who'd already seen it, drove me to Murray to see it after he'd seen it. And I loved. My God, it was awesome.
Okay.
There you go.
Let's continue.
HP.
The first one I saw in the theater was Return of the Jedi. But I grew up with the tapes.
You were born the year of Star Wars.
I was born the year of Star Wars.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I had the tapes. We had the tapes. The VCR.
Yes.
We were the family on the block that had a VCR.
Wow.
And so the kids would come over and watch Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, and it was just popular belief that Empire Strikes Back was the boring one. You know, that's what all the kids said. My brothers said it. And Star Wars was amazing. So, when Return of the Jedi came out, everyone treated that as the sequel to Star Wars. Mm-hmm. All the kids were like, "Oh, Empire! Nothing happens in that." And so, what was interesting about that was, because of that, I never watched Empire Strikes Back.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so I watched Star Wars, and then we went to the theater and watched Return of the Jedi.
Wow!
Yeah, and you know why?
And you're all, what the fuck's up with his arm?
No, because you know what had to happen at that point. I was like. Because my oldest brother Jonas, he he just told me what happened. You know, at this point, I'm a kid. I'm like, sure, yeah, I'll do whatever you say. I will let you fill me in. And he told me the story of Empire Strikes Back. And I remember sitting in the theater just thinking, like, this is really cool. This is really cool. But I really feel like I should watch The Empire Strikes Back now. I feel like I'm missing out on something. So going back and watching Star Wars again, I was like, yeah, it was ubiquitous. Like, you know, I didn't even have a critical eye yet. You know, I'm like, this is just the world. This is the best thing ever made. And then watching Empire Strikes Back after that, and then going back to the theater and watching Return of the Jedi. Yeah, so it was a really weird thing for me to go through because I became like so steeped in the universe.
Yeah. Mark?
So my parents took my sister and I to a drive-in to see Star Wars.
Oh, wow.
But I think we fell asleep. They put us on the hood of the car, you know, with blankets.
And drove off.
And all I remember, the only thing I remember is that there was a short film before it of like the guy who fell from the atmosphere. You know, who was the person who they released in the atmosphere and he fell to Earth? And he was,
yeah.
Like
David Bowie.
Anyway, it was. I don't remember what it was, but it was a short film of somebody falling to Earth, and that's all I remember. So it's totally possible that we fell asleep before the film started.
Wow.
Oh.
And what's funny is I don't remember when I actually first saw it because maybe it came back again, like before. You know, maybe it came back to the theater. It may have been a re-release. I don't know. But my sister and I had the figures, and we both had separate sets because we couldn't play together. So we had our own sets, and I knew them really, really well. And so I think my first, and this is conjecture, I think the first time I saw anything was I saw Empire Strikes Back in the theater.
Okay. That was 1980.
1980. And then in Return of the Jedi came, and I definitely saw that in the theater.
That was 83.
83. And we got cable right around that time. So it's again, I remember HBO just showing the three of them over and over and over again. So I don't actually know when I saw Star Wars for the first time. And it's quite possible that I didn't see it until after Return of the Jedi.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're ready to start. We'll be watching the Blu-ray. I know there are a couple Blu-rays. I don't know the difference between this one and others.
I think this is the best way I can describe it. This is the Blu-ray that's in the set that was released in recent years, in which has not been added to Return of the Jedi.
Thank goodness.
Not that we're watching that, but
There are, and this has
there are probably other changes,
that's right.
but I don't know which.
This also has the newest Jabba the Hutt animation in Star
goody.
Wars.
The bedazzled
Can't
one.
wait to see that part.
This is the one where he foots with it?
Yeah.
Oh,
You can't get them unfutzed. Well, actually,
Yeah.
you can. There's a DVD, but it's like it looks really horrible. It's like he purposely he's like, fine, fans, you want it there, and it looks horrible. It's not anamorphic.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's basically just a transfer of the Laserdisc onto DVD.
Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, George. You're such a nice person.
Okay.
But thanks for this movie, and we're going to watch it.
Yeah, thanks, Obama.
We'll tell you thank you or not after this. You know what? I want to go back and re-edit the beginning of this podcast.
Put in more banthas and such.
More, and ringed explosions.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Like the microphones just
no
go.
reason.
I was kind of hoping that like Obi-Wan would have like a ring that comes out of him.
Yeah. Exactly.
He cuts him with the lightsaber. That'd be great.
That'll be
That'd
next
be
time.
wonderful.
We'll add that next time.
So before we start picking it apart, which I know we're going to do, let's get into one of the main topics, and it's a good one: the music. Let's talk about John Williams' score and the music of Star Wars.
I think it's great. I think the swells are great because it sounds like classical music. It sounds like the planets. It sounds like Holst.
Yeah.
And actually, as you listen to this,
It sounds very much like Holst.
yeah, well, especially I was like, oh wait, look, it's Mars.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
which of course Aliens then used later on when James Horner did it. But it's really funny because like I'm watching this and I'm thinking, I'm glad that there's this thing where people say that John Williams directs movies because sometimes he does. And really, I really feel like the first like 90 minutes of Star Wars, the rhythm is all John Williams. You know, I'm glad that they were editing to his music because really it's like the rhythm's kind of haphazard, you know? So like when the swells happen, I'm like, good, something that feels like rhythm.
Yeah, because we've talked in other podcasts about, John Williams is borrowing things. And yeah, he does. But here it worked for me the first time I saw that as, no, he's adapting the planets to score this movie. And it's so good. It's so good.
It's good.
And it's so... It really, in many cases, it is entirely responsible for the drama.
Right. Yeah, it is. And so here's the funny thing is that, I mean, because I think basically George Lucas actually wrote it to the planets.
Oh.
And he's like, I want this sound. And I think John Williams was like, well, why don't we just do that? And what's really interesting about that is watching it again for the first time, like really watching it as a movie. I'm like, oh, we forget that he's kind of like the original Tarantino. Like, this is before he started taking like world building and making like a serious sci-fi universe. Right. He was like, no, I want the stuff from my childhood. I want 30s and 40s serials. Yeah. I love the planets. Let's make a Western samurai war film. With like some supernatural aspect to it. And it's like, oh look, it's a mashup. Yeah. This really works. So if it sounds like the planets, even cooler. This whole thing is all synthesis. It's all synthesized from his favorite things. It's his nostalgia. Yes, I love that.
It's his Super 8.
It's
no.
Shall we move on to the constantly changing? We've already just brought up a couple of these now. The film is not what it was originally, and it is so different and keeps changing that I can't even be sure if what I'm seeing is the same or changed now.
Yeah. And that's why I feel like I haven't watched it. Yeah. I've seen it in its entirety maybe 10 times since the special edition in 97. But my experience is basically saying, okay, that's different. That's a little bit different. Oh, Jabba looks different now. The CG's better than the last CG. Yeah. But you're not really watching it. You're just you're nitpicking. You can't help but do that. Yeah. I've seen it, but it's hard to watch.
Yeah.
Purely as a film. Yeah. I had to actively not do that this time. I'm like watching the screen. I'm like, no, I'm going to keep my mouth shut about Greedo shooting first.
Yeah, and that one's been,
It's really tough, though. Yeah. It's really tough.
And it's weird, though. I mean, some of this is apparently motivated by he's trying to make the movie he wanted to make in the first place, and the technology wasn't there, right? Mm-hmm. But in some cases, that inability was a gift.
Yeah.
Because, for example, we now have this full long scene with Han and Jabba before he goes to the Millennium Falcon, which adds nothing and subtracts.
It subtracts. One of my favorite moments in Star Wars has always been, again, a John Williams swell. They run into the hangar, and we, as the audience, see the Millennium Falcon for the first time. Yeah. And the music is even kind of impressed with it as well.
Yeah.
And then it's cut by Luke saying, "What a hunk of junk."
Yeah.
But now we've already seen the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
And then we leave, and then we come back to it. Yeah. It doesn't really make any dramatic sense.
No.
Also, the scene with Greedo and Jabba are duplicate scenes.
Yeah.
It's like if one doesn't work, the other will take its place.
Right.
It's almost exactly the same dialogue.
Yeah.
Plus, if he's in the Greedo scene, he's already put out the bounty.
Right.
In the Jabba scene, he threatens to put out.
Yeah. I know.
So you gotta pick one and leave the other out of the film.
Yeah, it really, no matter what happens, it'll always feel like I'm looking at a special feature. It doesn't feel like it's part of the movie to me.
Yeah. And then the other way Lucas betrays himself in the changes is part of, he wants to make Mos Eisley look busier, and that makes sense. And that, that makes sense. You weren't able to do that to your satisfaction. Add a little more now, that's fine. Mm-hmm. But that's not all he does. He can't stop there. Yeah. He has to add his goofy, wacky scenes that maybe a 3-year-old likes. I don't know, but
I know. Yeah, I like when directors can actually make a director's cut and say, okay, here's the map of my movie. I want to put this back in, but I will be completely aware of how this is a domino effect.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like he does that with this, because he expands Mos Eisley, but he never shows us what Alderaan looks like.
Right.
It's like, well, why don't we get to see that? That's like a bigger plot point, you don't expand that. Show us a shot of a city there. Show us what Princess Leia's family looked like. Something,
Although even if you did that, that would cause different dominoes to fall that way, because already we have this problem of whole planet, only Obi-Wan's bothered by this.
Right, exactly.
So if they showed it, then that would make that absence more conspicuous.
Right. And he's the only one.
Yeah.
It's like a million voices screaming in terror, then suddenly silence.
Yeah.
No matter, what's for dinner?
Yeah.
Stupid force interrupting my plans.
Yeah.
Luckily, no one else has to deal with this.
There's a general sense that it just sort of feels like it moves so quickly. He doesn't want to give people time to actually feel, you know?
I never thought that until this time around. I'm like, this movie doesn't allow for emotion.
Well, as you said, that scene where the big, the two moons and whatever, it's sort of so powerful. But then he recovers from his family being killed so quickly.
Yeah, right.
And so,
which, by the way, would be rated R these days. Actually, if he's like how
that's
gruesome. That was really gruesome.
Yeah.
Is that the way it was originally?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
remember.
it always was.
Yeah.
for some reason, I remember it
deteriorated
actually
except for the
not
skeletons.
lasting as long though. For some reason, because I remember maybe it was cut on television though, because I remember
might
what the
be.
hell was that? Was that a body?
that
And
makes
this you
sense,
saw
actually.
actual skulls. So
Yeah.
I don't know if they extended that. Shot.
No,
I think
it's
so.
the same.
Yeah.
It's the same.
Yeah.
So I think they cut it on television.
Yeah.
But then something happens that I actually like, that I actually think helps the film, but it does completely confirm what you said, that Lucas is trying to avoid emotion in this. Because, so we have the swell of the music, and the aunt and uncle are dead, he's staring at the sun, thinking about his future, and we don't stay with that very long.
Right.
We wipe to the TIE fighter heading toward the Death Star immediately,
Right.
which I think is really cool. It's really impactful to me. But it is because the movie we're trying to make is not a heavy drama.
Right.
It's because we're trying to make an adventure.
Right.
So I think that goes overboard in the fact that no one ever reacts to anything, traumatic at all.
Although at this, when they finally rescue Leia, you're kind of relieved that there's some comic, like she brings a comic element to it.
Yeah.
Kind of a relief.
Yeah, that actually works.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It doesn't
Her-
seem like she's comic relief, but she kind of
No, but her banter with Han is,
Right.
I mean, it's just enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think C-3PO is supposed to be comic relief, but it's so constant that it just becomes part of the setting.
He's as irritating to us as he is to the character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it
There's that new piece of unintended comic relief for me, where there's a scene where you see like these new CG creatures, and C-3PO looks at them and says, "I don't like the look of this."
Yes.
And I'm like, neither do I, C-3PO.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah. Yes.
It's almost like maybe the fans got into the disc and like added that, because didn't Lucas think about that?
Right.
No, of course not.
No.
Let's talk about the cinematic scenes and
Or
What
like
makes something
or
a
lack
cinematic
of
scene?
and then
yes.
So I guess I feel like a scene should be a scene, like write an exit, and like make an entrance and make everything have a feel, make me feel something, And even Mark at one point turned to me and said, "It wiped to a scene when they talked about Alderaan for 2 sentences, and it wiped back." I'm like, yeah, that's not really a scene. And then I feel like a lot of the movie just kind of has like a really weird rhythm that doesn't even really have a rhythm, I really feel like the opening, it doesn't feel good to me. Like the shootout and all that. Like Darth Vader has a good entrance, but I don't know if it feels cinematic, John Williams makes it feel cinematic, but that might just be my nostalgia speaking. Because of course things are big in this movie. Things are really big, but big isn't cinematic. I feel like things don't really get cinematic until Darth Vader uses the Force for the first time. Like that whole thing. And I don't know how much of that is because it looks like a Kubrick film all of a sudden. But I feel like, wow, there's pacing, there's drama, and like it's slowed down a bit. Everything else before that just kind of, it moves so fast that it feels slow. Does that make any sense?
I did feel the only time to me the pacing seems off is after the Jawas capture R2 and they're loading him into the ship. It seems like we spent a lot of time watching that for no apparent reason.
Exactly.
Which is the first time I've ever
There's a
thought that.
great point right there. So, it's like this. Great cinematic moment, right? It's all rhythm and timing. Great timing. Let's watch them pick him up.
Yes.
Now let's cut to a close-up where he's like, we have to wait to see R2-D2's whole body leave the frame.
Yes.
Then we see like a wide shot of the vehicle and you see his Jawas.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to the same shot, right? Of them carrying him,
Yes.
but like a little bit closer.
Yes.
Why don't we just cut to the inside of that vehicle?
Yeah,
Like it's these weird things where it's like, are you showing off or what are you doing?
Yeah,
This I don't feel anything at this moment.
Yeah.
I have to admit, even though it doesn't make any sense why he would do it, I love that he falls over.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I do too.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
Exactly.
But it's just great.
I'm willing to forego
accuracy
accuracy for something that actually feels really good cinematically.
Yeah.
You know why it works?
What?
So clearly Lucas has a penchant for slapstick.
Yeah.
That almost never works.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Like all the added stuff when they enter Mos Eisley now, wacky.
Yeah.
Because it usually winds up with someone making a face, you know,
Yeah,
or something
right.
goofy. That one works because R2 can't make those faces.
Exactly.
So there can't be a goofy reaction.
When it's being a genre film, that's when it's really well edited.
Yeah.
It's like he knows what the World War II film is supposed to feel like.
Yeah.
So that's another cinematic moment.
Yeah.
The X-Wings, when they get to formation, I'm like, my heart's racing. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
This is amazing. There's so much drama in this because there's no talking. One thing I can't stand about the writing in this is that everyone says what they feel all the time.
Yeah.
You know, there's no need for that. We don't need to see an actor convey being lost. Where are we? I don't know where we are anymore. Or how many times do we have to hear this? Where could he be?
Yes.
3PO! Where could he be? And then it cuts to C-3PO saying, oh, where could they be?
Yes.
Where are they? Where could they be? They're always talking like they can't just like be. They can't just do something, you know?
Or I have a bad feeling about this.
I have a bad feeling about this. Yeah. That's said 3 times.
Oh, yeah.
It falls on Luke
Which is-
the most, though. Luke is the most, like, icky character.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, wait for me.
Yeah.
The other moments that's like that to me where it's working because it's following its homage is when Luke realizes that Beru and Owen are in trouble or past in trouble. And so he heads off, and we wipe to him in the land speeder. And then we wipe to him arriving, and it's perfect. And
Yes,
it's because it gets the point across, but it's absolutely emulating the style of the source material.
Exactly.
But it works because of that, and it works because we get him there. You know,
Right.
Boom, boom, boom. We're there.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and it's true. You're watching that, and I don't think it's a bad thing to watch it and say, "Oh, this is totally those serials."
Yeah, no, not at all.
It's not a bad thing to feel like you're reminded of those 40 sci-fis.
No.
It's not a bad thing, but then I think it's kind of bad when you're kind of stuck somewhere in between the homages.
Yeah.
And you're like, what's he doing now? Why are there these handheld shots of R2 being attacked by Jawas?
Yeah.
You know, what is that now? What are we doing?
Yeah.
You know? So that's where I feel like in the middle, in between the homages, I don't know what the movie is. It doesn't feel like a movie to me. Sometimes I feel like, I feel like I'm watching like Dynasty or something. Like once in a while I'm like, I don't get what's happening or why I should care. You know? It's not until those cinematic moments where I'm just like, oh, okay, I like that you're doing the samurai film right now. Oh, I like that you're doing the Western right now.
Yeah. I noticed in the choky scene where he's choking that guy for yelling at him, they added a sound effect. I don't remember there being a sound effect there before.
Oh, really?
I don't remember. There's like a low rumbling sound.
Oh, I feel like. See, I can't remember. I feel like it's always been there, but maybe
I feel
it
like
wasn't.
that was added. And you were mentioning the when Ben Kenobi shows up,
His
and makes
scream?
that noise. The noise.
Yeah, they
is
changed
completely
that,
different
yeah.
Now.
Yeah, it used to sound like a sound from Jurassic Park. It used to sound like a velociraptor or something.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a sound later on that was made by a Jawa that sounds more like Ben Kenobi. But like in that scene, like it, I can't even emulate it. I said to Mark, like, this sounds like when Beck's doing funk. Like it's like a falsetto scream. Why is that Ben Kenobi? Why did that get changed? To make it less scary, maybe? To be goofy?
I found a detailed analysis.
Scary.
Yeah, that was the goal, and they wanted to make it sound like Y creature instead of X creature. And of course, it can be identified. Some nerd has found what stupid creature that we'd ever spend any time on in the movies it sounds like. You know.
See, that's where it's like. Just I don't know when you like what it's kind of like your issue with like the world building and Adventure Time.
Yeah,
I feel like when you start caring that much about your space opera, then you're not admitting that you wanted to make a space opera in the first place,
right?
You know,
right? Yes, and you want to build out this world, but you don't have anything to start with.
Exactly,
You don't have no foundation,
right?
And so, oh goody, Trade Federation. You know,
we have a blockade! Hooray!
One thing that's always bothered me about the movie, a little nitpick that actually it was kind of worse now, but I now have a theory that makes me feel better about it all. I've always been bugged that no one can ever say Han's name the same way, and he doesn't care.
Right.
You know, he never corrects anyone. Is it Han? Is it Han? We don't know. But then this time I realized, oh, Alderaan's the same way.
Yep.
It's the Nevada of the Galactic Empire.
Right.
You know.
I'm a member of the Imperial Senate on a diplomatic mission to Alderaan.
You must learn the ways of the Force if you're to come with me to Alderaan.
We've entered the Alderaan system.
Looks like we're coming up on Alderaan.
I have chosen to test this station's destructive power on your home planet of Alderaan.
All right.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I realized, okay, so what's happening is we have a lot of an American production being done in a British studio.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's all this cross-pollination of how to pronounce those weird A's. And it even switches. A lot of the British guys wind up saying the American A sound.
Right.
It's like they're all saying it all this way.
And even Carrie Fisher starts to turn British at one point.
Well, she starts British.
Governor Tarkin, I should have expected to find you holding Vader's leash. I recognized your foul stench when I was brought on board.
And then it cuts to her like Jersey accent, like.
Put that thing away! You're gonna get us all killed.
And then like it pops up again later on when she talks about. I don't know. It's funny. It's
so it's not just when she's trying to be ambassadorial. That's the impression I sort of got.
It's possible, but it's just not consistent.
Yeah. Well, it's Well, yeah, true.
It's not. I mean, this isn't a film about subtleties like that. It's just a mistake. Yeah, I mean, you wonder, is the film, is it just that, is it like a right place at the right time?
Like,
I don't think,
what do you mean?
Well, meaning that,
made it
I wonder, like, does the film,
the
film doesn't hold up to a lot of scrutiny, probably for a reason, because it was, you know, maybe it's just a really shallow kind of film.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It definitely is, but...
and the fact that it's a phenomena is, again, right place, right time, technology, pushing the envelope in that way.
Some of that, and nothing like that had been attempted in a long time. That kind of movie, that you know, a space adventure,
right? I mean, it's the same reason that Indiana Jones, also a Lucasfilm production, was so popular. It's like, oh god, we wanted to see what would happen if there was a modern day African queen. You know, I think at this point, it's just like it's kind of the reason why like Kill Bill and Inglourious Bastards are like so popular. It's just like, oh, how cool! We're seeing a mashup of Inglourious Bastards was the samurai western.
Yeah. So, well, it's like in movies, science fiction got really serious. 2001, you know, Silent Running. It was all, you know, Logan's Run even, you know, boils down to an old guy talking for an hour, you know. So this was just pure, which was later anyway. Logan's Run was after anyway. But yeah, so here was something that was just pure fun that brought back an energy that had been gone from the movies for a long time and harnessed new technical achievements to be able to do it. So
I actually, I every time I watch it, I can always put myself back to the first time I saw the special effects. I'm always blown away. That first shot, you're just sitting there looking at this, like the curve of a planet, and just seeing this huge ship just flying over your head. It still blows me away.
And I think that's part of why the last sequence is less interesting to me now, because they've cleaned it up. And now it just looks like every other space battle I see.
Okay.
And I've lost that feeling of wonder I had about it when I first saw it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, I still like the rhythm of the Death Star. I think it's the best rhythmically edited part of the whole movie.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I still like it.
Yeah,
you know?
that makes sense. Yeah.
I think we're probably about at the time where we should start voting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else
you
want to?
It's still very difficult for me, so
Is
I'm
it
gonna
just
wait.
do we just vote?
I can go.
Yeah, like
I can lead.
Old or Gold.
You want to lead?
I'll lead, yeah.
Okay, why don't we let Tim lead the voting?
Well, a couple
Old
things.
or Gold.
I did mention that my changed perspective is that last time I'd seen these movies, both Luke and C-3PO came off as really annoying. Their whininess was very paramount to me. This time, C-3PO didn't bother me. It's like you all said that everyone's annoyed by him, so it works in universe, and it's not that bad. So he kind of works for me now. And I appreciate him more, even though it's like he almost like left R2 to die. But you know, but then when he got a good break, he smoothed over it. And then Luke is supposed to be a teenager. I mean, he's played by a 25-year-old, but he's supposed to be a teenager, and that came up. That I felt that more this time. Yes, he whines, but he's a teenager.
Right.
So it's okay, and he moves from there to heroic as the monomyth dictates. You know, reasonably. And works out and keeps his head and stays together. So, you know, I saw in him this time the hero I saw in him when I originally saw it.
Okay.
So yeah, it has a lot of little problems. Honestly, not as many as I thought it would when I watched it this time. You know, I still think there are some pacing problems, but there's editing that fixes them. You know, when it stays true to its serial roots, it works best. You know, it's still, I lost interest in the pew-pew at the end, but I think that's more me than the movie. So, yeah, it still holds up, and you know, it's hard to watch because of all the changes that have been made to it since then. It's hard to see what movie is there, but I can mostly, and I still love that movie, and I still think it's really good, in spite of its little problems. Where Lucas fucked up, other people covered for him. So, it all works. And still gold.
All right. 1 gold from Tim. Who wants to be next?
I'll say something.
Sure. I'm not going to be next.
I think it's I mean, even though it's kind of it's a complicated mess, and I have complicated feelings about it, it's still very uncanny. Throughout it, it's still a very weird film, and I could, especially the beginning, I was felt like I was experiencing it very similarly the way I first saw it, which of course I don't remember. It's still odd, and the aesthetics are interesting, and when it's not, when it's not being cheesy, it's still a very, very strange experience, and it's a weird little world. But uncanniness, I think, keeps it gold for me.
Okay. 2 golds.
2 golds. All right. Mark and Tim, 2 golds. Would you like to be next?
Is this the official score?
Sure.
Oh, no. I'm just writing something down so I don't forget it, because I often do when we go through this.
I hope he doesn't forget we said gold.
Yes.
Okay, fine. I'll put a G here and a O here. 2 golds. Oh, jeez.
Who's next?
I think HPS.
Oh,
okay. So I think watching it for the first time in a long time, like really watching it as a movie, made me really appreciate it a lot more this time, because I think it fell out of favor for me over the years, and I think it's because it might be because this is complicated, but it might be because of my hatred for Return of the Jedi. My hatred of Return of the Jedi was amplified by my love for The Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
And which then made me kind of think of Star Wars as this inferior film, But if I just watch this and just imagine this being in 1977, being the only film you know about, yeah, there is an uncanniness to it. There's something really kind of cool about how alienating it is at first. You don't know what you're in for. You're literally thrust into space, and this huge carrier just flies over your head. Wow, that's a moment. Yeah. That's monumental. It's great. You've never seen anything like that. And so when I see it as this pastiche of his childhood and what he wants to do, this like nostalgic romp through his head, I think it really works that way. He's basically saying, look, I'm not making sci-fi here. He's saying, I'm not trying to make 2001. I'm trying to give you the adventure I always wanted, and I think it works. I think it's really fun. I think it's a really fun movie. Is it Best Picture material for 1977 because it was nominated for Best Picture? Yeah. Is it Best Picture material? I think it's one of those things where it's like, there's a reason why the technical achievement awards were made at the Oscars. I don't know if I still don't know if it's a really great film. I don't, but I say it's gold.
Okay, that's 3 golds. Look, I'm putting it down so that I don't forget. All right, now it's my turn. Wow.
Don't disappoint us.
It's difficult because no other film is like this, where it feels like you go into the house that you grew up in, right? You haven't been there in like a couple decades. Someone else lives there now. There's a lot of things that are different and some things that are the same. And you're going through the house and you're noticing all of it. And you're not, instead, you're not like thinking, oh, I stood here and this is where mom measured my growing. You can still see the pencils. No, they've been painted over.
Right.
Right? That's how this feels.
Wow.
So it's really a struggle to watch it as a film, as I've said before, and think of it as as a new film that I have to watch and vote on. 2 of the things that I always use as a way of voting is was there a good story and a good character arc? Do we follow someone through a path of they're in a place, they're a comfortable place, but they're not happy, and then they move to a happy place? Yes, that happens for Luke. And also the other thing that I use is, would I watch this again in a reasonable amount of time, a couple months, if I wanted to say, let's watch the Star Wars movies. This is one of them that I would watch again. So adding all that up together, obviously my vote is gold. So, yay! Add explosions with rings. Explosions. Oh, R2. Oh, I've lost R2.
So that's a way better analogy than some things I was thinking, because I may not be voting honestly still, because I still am looking past the changes, the recent changes. And maybe I shouldn't be, maybe I should be factoring them. But still, even if I consider them, they're not yet damaging enough that they've ruined the movie. That could still happen.
Right.
Yes.
If he keeps working on it.
Right.
Well,
but,
he doesn't own it now, so hopefully he can't touch it anymore.
But all I can think of is not nearly as good an analogy as yours. But I was thinking, suppose you're like hiking a trail in Hawaii or some beautiful location, but it's ruined because you keep tripping over beer bottles that your tour guide has thrown down. And that's kind of what is the newer versions you get to. You know,
I like that. That one's funnier. I have to admit. You just imagine over here is the road. Well, that's where the droid was.
But
I
he's
took that out.
he's having a better time.
He is. Yes. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. Yes, he's definitely enjoying himself as the money pours in.
Yes.
Right.
And yeah. Okay. Well, that's it. We're out of time.
Okay.
So yes, thank you for joining us. This has been Old vs. Gold. We have 2 seasons of audio podcasts on iTunes. If you like this and want to hear us without looking at us, that's probably preferable. Maybe I don't know, but go ahead and download us and all that. And we'll be back with The Empire Strikes Back in the next episode. And in that episode, we will decide the Smackdown. Which of the 2 films is the best? Empire or Star Wars? Star Wars or Empire?
Technically, it's better because you're only comparing 2 things.
Good point.
This has also been an ongoing battle between me and Mark.
Yes, and that is why you were...
I had never heard the phrase Empire Strikes Back is better until I met HP.
And you know, this is really good because this allowed me to watch Star Wars again. And I'm willing to revisit my opinion, if you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of new thoughts came up in this film, so a lot of new thoughts may come up in the next one. Could change things for the better or the worse. Could break up a relationship. Who knows? Stay tuned.
Old vs. Gold is a production of Hidden Deadly. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hidden Deadly. We're also on Twitter at Hidden Deadly, where you can send us questions about this podcast with the hashtag OldvGold. Go to oldvgold.com to find more episodes and more information about this podcast. You can also find us on iTunes, where you can subscribe and give us a rating. Thanks for joining us.